Hey, what's going on, everyone? After many years, what seems like decades, what seems like centuries, what seemed like forever, I'm happy to announce that we're going to be doing a first look on the brand new Sony a7S III. Now, my guy Josh over at Sony was able to lend this to me. Got to send it back soon, but I'm very happy to kind of tell you about my shooting experience with it and show you some of the features and why you should be picking this one up. Now, I'm aware most of you viewers, if you're watching this video right now, this is probably your 10th video you've seen on the a7S III, and you probably already got your pre-orders in. So I'm not gonna rely too much on the specs, but I am gonna talk about some of the basic specs, and then we're just gonna actually do some testing with all the different shooting modes that you can do. So right off the bat, we have a 12 megapixel full frame backlit sensor, fully stabilized, of course, like Sony. Autofocus is going to give you, I believe, 93% coverage on the sensor itself. Now, one thing that is upgraded is our EVF. This is one of the best EVFs out right now, I believe. It is 9.44 million dots, so you are definitely going to see a difference when looking through. Another big upgrade on the Sony a7S III is we have a fully articulating screen. Now, this screen is something that shooters have been asking for plenty of years, and it's nice to see it incorporated on this camera. Not only are we getting a fully articulating screen, but we are going to have a fully touch functional screen as well. Now, it's not going to be like previous models where I could pull focus points and the menus weren't going to work. Our menus are going to be touch functional, and you can make selections within the menus as well. So there are a lot of upgrades from the a7S II, but one thing that Sony did keep is the 12 megapixel sensor. There was a lot of rumors on Sony Alpha rumors on, oh, I think it's going to be 24 megapixels, or oh, it's going to be a 36 megapixel camera. But I think it's really smart what Sony did, and a lot of companies are coming out with 8K cameras, with 6K cameras. Even Blackmagic came out with a 12K camera. But I think Sony was smart to just kind of master the 4K, and I definitely believe that's what they did in this camera. So we're going to get 4K 24, 4K 60, and the 4K 60, we're not going to get any crop in the camera whatsoever. We are also able to get 4K 120, and that is 10-bit 422. And I believe you're only getting a 1.1 crop. So I think Sony definitely did do the smart decision by keeping this a 12 megapixel sensor. It's going to be, of course, the best full frame low light camera, but it's also going to master all the 4K video. And for a run and gun shooter, even someone with a small production company, I think this camera is going to be perfect for that as well. Now, not only are recording modes going to be, up to 120 frames per second, but they actually read and write at very fast speed. So you can actually get all intra recording modes on the Sony a7S III. And I believe when you're shooting in 120 and slow and quick mode, you can actually get it to read at 600 megabits per second. So when recording that fast, you're actually going to need a faster memory card. Now, I use Hoodman steel cards, and I had a SanDisk as well. So I tried to do 4K, all intra, 24 frames per second, and it said I needed a UHS-2 card, V90 minimum. My Hoodman steel card met those requirements, but for some reason it would not record to it. The SanDisk, once again, did not record to it. It didn't work until I pulled out a Delkin Power card. It was actually able to record on SD. So the reason for telling you this is if you are going to be recording that much information, you're going to actually need a CF Express Type A card, which is what else I'm going to, my next point that I'm going to bring up. So we do have dual card slots. They are going to be able to take UHS-2 SD cards or CF Express Type A cards. Now, I do not have any CF Express Type A cards because none of them are on the market at the moment that we're recording this video. But like I said, that Delkin Power card is going to be able to record the all intra. Another feature that I want to touch up on is going to be external recording. So I don't believe it's going to be currently out at release date, but the Sony a7S III is going to be able to record 16-bit RAW files to an external recorder. Now, I assume it's going to be something like the Ninja or maybe even the Shogun 7, but those details are going to be released later, but that is a capability that this camera is going to have. Another thing that we're going to get on our camera is going to be picture profiles. So just like our older ones, we're going to get the HLG mode, we're going to get the S-Log 2, and we also are going to get S-Log 3. We are going to get the same battery that we have on the 3 Series Alpha cameras and above, the NP-FZ100. And this is going to be extendable via the USB-C port. So you can actually power this camera with the USB-C port if you set it up in the camera, and you also have the option to power it indefinitely. Now, I do want to talk about some of the ergonomics. So holding this camera in my hand, it's definitely a little bit thicker than the A7R4, but I don't think you're going to be able to tell difference. Now, it's not large, it's still a small full-frame camera, and it fits really well on the hand. Articulating screen, it did kind of get in the way when I was having it plugged into USB-C when I was doing streaming. The cord was just kind of right in there, but I don't think there was any other place they could put it, unfortunately. Now, our record button is going to be moved once again. So on the A7S II, we're going to have it on the side. A7 III, it was moved right back here. Now they made it real large and it's going to be on the top, kind of where our C1 would be on a A7 III or R4. So they did move some of the buttons around, but ergonomics overall, it fits really good in your hand, and I usually don't use straps. So this one I don't have any problem, you know, just carrying it with me. I do want to talk about some of the ports as well. They did design them a little bit differently on this camera. So we are going to have our mic port on the top. Right underneath that, we're going to have a headphone jack. Now this is something that I don't want to say. Thankfully Sony threw that in. I mean, it's obvious that Sony was going to throw in a headphone jack for their S cameras. Right underneath that, we are going to have a USB-C and then a micro USB port. And one of my favorite upgrades that we get on the S3 is going to be a full HDMI cord. All right, so those are the basic specs of the Sony a7S III. There's a lot more features, but we're not gonna get into that today. I'm actually gonna get right into shooting and show you some sample footage with some sample photos. We're here with Nicole today at South Congress. Last time we were here, we shot our Sony ZV-1 video. If you haven't checked that out, I'm gonna leave a little thing somewhere up here. Click on that, make sure to check it out. But other than that, we're gonna get right into it. Okay, so with the Sony a7S III, we are going to be doing low light shooting. So we're going to go right under these lights that you probably saw in our low light test. So we're going to do photos first, and then we're going to jump into the video. So let's get to it. All right, so we just got finished doing stills. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna jump into the video. For the first recording mode, I'm gonna do 4K, 10-bit, 422, all intra. So we're gonna record that, then we're gonna do some 60 FPS, and then we're gonna go down to 120, and then we're actually gonna do 240 FPS as well. So it's, what time is it right now? It's 8:20, so the light is it's very, very minimal right now, so it is going to be a test to see how this 12 megapixel sensor is going to stack up. So I am using this 16 to 35 2.8 G Master, but one thing I do want to touch upon is that this camera is also going to be really good for vlogging, since it is a very compact full-frame mirrorless camera. The LCD screen is perfect. I see myself looking off to the side, and just looking at the LCD screen, I can actually see everything. Auto-focusing, all that good stuff. It's still tracking my eye, and guys, it's very, very dark right now, and it's still tracking my eye. I mean, I'm at 1/50th of a second, 2.8 aperture, and my ISO is only at 4,000, and I'm still getting all this detail. And I know in post, if I push this up a little bit, I'm still gonna get all the detail back in here. So overall, really impressed. I mean, I think for vlogging, this is gonna also be a perfect camera. If you're looking to get the best vlogging camera possible, I think the a7S III is definitely up there. So for video, just like the a7R4, it is gonna have continuous autofocus while recording video. I don't have to press any of the buttons. You can kind of see on here that it's tracking no problem. So if she moves back, forward, it's gonna track no issue whatsoever. And one thing I do want to touch upon is my ISO is still fairly low. It's only at 2500. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we did our 24, 60 frames, 120, and now when we put it in the S&Q mode, we're actually able to do 240 frames per second in HD. So one feature that we didn't touch on in the beginning is the autofocus transition speed. On the A7S III, when you're autofocusing, you can actually use the LCD screen and touch where you want it to focus, but you're actually able to adjust the transitioning speed as well. So you can have it set to very fast or slow, and I believe you have 7 options in between as well. So we're gonna show you how it's gonna look when you do fast. So it should just go right to the next autofocusing point with no issue. And then if I slow it down, when I touch the autofocusing point, it should do a nice, real smooth transition. So that's a real cool feature that you have in this and can make it look like you have a focus puller. All right, so we just finished shooting with Nicole. It is approximately, it's about 9:30ish. But we're gonna do our final thoughts and kind of see like what we thought overall about the A7S III. This is gonna be a little biased. I'm a Sony fanboy. I love the camera, I loved it. There was not really anything that I could complain about. For stills, I still feel like 12 megapixels was more than enough when doing photo, and it's just helping out for like low light situations as well. I wasn't having to extend my ISO very much, but when I did have to extend it, let's say to like 6,000 plus, it still looked fine, and I wasn't complaining whatsoever with how my images looked. But of course, that's on the back LCD screen, so we're gonna have to take a look on the monitor and see how they actually looked. Battery life as well, insane. I've still been shooting with it for a few hours, and I'm still on more than half a charge, about 52%, so can't complain there. Articulating screen did really come in handy when I was doing some like low angle shots, when I was trying to get some of the neon lights on the ceiling with Nicole in the shot. Angling it that way without trying to, you know, mess up my back. Just able to flip that bad boy down and take a look at it, so that was really helpful. I think this camera is one of the best video cameras out there. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a stills camera, video camera that can do stills and has stills capability, but overall I think it's one of the best cameras for the price right now. For what it's worth, this is definitely going to be going in my camera bag. Probably not soon, but sometime in the near future, I'm 100% going to be picking up an A7S III myself. Release date, it's going to be released, I believe, sometime at the end of September, and it's going to be running roughly around $3,500 US at the time of this video. So if you are looking to pick one up, Precision Cameras got a wait list for it. You can put a deposit down on it. I'm going to leave the link down below. And if you do end up picking one up, remember to tag us on Instagram, hashtag Precision Camera ATX, and you have a chance to be featured. Other than that, let me know what you think of the A7S III, what you're looking forward to, if there's any flaws in its design, or what you just love about this camera, and if you're going to be picking one up yourself. Other than that, remember to like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you on our next video.